You know, I'm not sure if you know this, but I am a huge Bond fan. Whether it be the golden era of Connery, Lazenby's one-hit masterpiece, Moore's mainstream appeal, Dalton's authentic portrayal, Brosnan's smooth as fuck run, and finally, Craig's experimental emotional journey. I love all aspects of Bond, and that also includes the video games.
What? Ken Banks, penetration tester.
Oh, Mr. Bond.
But before we get further into the video, why not click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon? It really helps with the channel and keeps me going. With that, let's get on with the video. Now, a lot of fans who grew up during the Brosnan era got to rely on the video games for external media outside of the books, and that was the golden age of 007 in video game form. Now, of course, you had GoldenEye, which its legacy will endure for generations to come. But I'd say that the best era of Bond came in the 2000s. Now, admittedly, EA's era started off shockingly,
Positively shocking.
with games such as Tomorrow Never Dies and 007 Racing, which are considered some of the worst Bond games in the series. But The World Is Not Enough on PS1 and the Nintendo 64 were seen as decent games, and after that, EA put out 3 absolute banger games back to back: Agent Under Fire, Nightfire, and Everything or Nothing. The first 2 titles being amazing first-person shooters that brought you in the world of James Bond and made you feel like James Bond. And finally, Everything or Nothing serves as Brosnan's final performance as James Bond. However, the franchise sort of stumbled in video games after Brosnan was given the boot, and that left the last 2 games to be in a bit of a pickle. GoldenEye Rogue Agent was not well received, and the final Bond game EA released was Sean Connery's last performance as James Bond in From Russia with Love. It was a really good game, unfortunately it didn't sell well, and thus ended the golden era of Bond games. Sure, it wasn't perfect, but the fact that EA put out 4 Bond games that rival GoldenEye is amazing, and in some cases surpassed it. But nothing lasts forever, as Bond would move on to another corporation, and unlike the EA era, this era entered turbulence from the get-go. Enter Activision. Yes, Activision. Now, while this era of games was hit or miss, this era effectively killed Bond for over a decade. Quantum of Solace was fine, but mainly retold Casino Royale. GoldenEye 007 on the Wii buried Bloodstone, as they were both released on the same fucking day.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
Spoilers, Bloodstone is much better than GoldenEye. The following year, they re-released GoldenEye as GoldenEye Reloaded on the 360 and the PS3. And then they fully killed the James Bond IP with 007 Legends, a rushed slog of a game where it retells iconic stories from the point of Daniel Craig's iteration of James Bond. And it's now no longer canon, as the On Her Majesty's Secret Service storyline is moot, and they recast Felix Leiter to be a white guy in Goldfinger. But essentially, Bond died because of the Legends game, due to the cashing in on the James Bond brand on the 50th anniversary. So James Bond in video games died. Now, you're probably wondering why I am going over the brief history of James Bond video games. Well, it's because James Bond coming to video games in a AAA big budget production is something to be excited for, and while I have some gripes with the gameplay overall, I really loved it.
Any sage advice?
Too nice?
Always.
So let's break down the extensive gameplay footage and then the 2 game trailers, shall we? Now, the setup is that this is Bond's first mission as a part of MI6, after being recruited by M. Now, the first 12 to 13 minutes of the gameplay footage is very much Hitman. You have Bond driving up with another agent as he is tasked with securing the car park and monitoring for 009. However, he spots a bellhop chucking a bag over the side, so Bond has to find a way into the building. Now, during the gameplay, it does show you how Bond gets in. However, according to the devs, the game will have alternate ways for you to get into that same location, while different routes will be available to the player. The opening has Bond oversee a little chess match and interact with a bartender, which again draws a lot from Hitman, talking with different people in order to achieve your objective to get the information out of them. I really like this, and it really shows that they're leaning into Hitman while also having that 007 flavor to it. Now, the second part of the gameplay footage is 007 and the Bond girl, Miss Charlotte Ross, pursuing 009 with an Aston Martin. Now, it isn't a gadget-laden vehicle, so sadly, no guns, missiles, or ejector seat because he, well, broke into it. But it is just a driving sequence, and it's good. I don't mind it. But the chase just lacks a sense of Bondian quality. It feels like a hangover from Bloodstone. And while I really liked 007 Bloodstone, a game I consider to be the best Bond game of the Activision era, the lack of gadgets unfortunately made the driving sequences in that game lesser than the ones from the EA era that had iconic gadgets and moments and Bondian-esque moments. But back to the gameplay of this, the driving sequence is good. It has a sense of weight and gravity to it that I really like. We also find out that Miss Roth is a French agent, so it seems as though that the British and the French will be going after the same person or the same objective, but they have different ways or objectives themselves to achieve, which can you really trust Miss Roth as she is from a different agency? Time will tell, and the story will unfold as the game releases. Bond and Roth finally find 009's car on the side of the road, as Bond goes in to pursue 009. As we have Bond like shooting 100 guys, it's absolutely over the top, and I love it. It really gives you that wish fulfillment James Bond fantasy from the Brosnan era, where you can enter a building and mow down every one of the bad guys without breaking a single sweat. But I gotta say, the explosions in this and the destructive capability in this footage is freaking amazing. I love that you can blow up chunks of a staircase and platforms. It really does feel very much like a AAA production game in this. The only criticism I have is that the frame rate dips, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just that IO needs to work out the kinks, and considering that this game runs really well only for the explosions and later on during the plane sequence where the frame rate dips, it is really impressive that this is on a base PS5. Now, another little thing I liked was that the person playing Bond in this shot these barrels, and while it didn't blow up the car immediately, it was clearly oil, and I really liked that you could see the oil light up and follow the trail to the car and blow up. I really liked this detail. It was a really cool detail that I didn't think I would see in a video game, but maybe I'm mistaken because I'm so used to you shoot a barrel, oil comes out, and nothing really happens. But to see it trail off and then later explode, it looks really cool. Anyway, after Bond mows down an entire army, he is in pursuit of the plane. It's a nice way to really ramp things up, as Bond runs after the plane, then he commandeers a truck, then drives after the plane. Then he is on top of the wing on the plane and then infiltrates the plane. It's a nice escalation and really gives off Mission Impossible 5 vibes. That's the wrong door! While in the plane, Bond hacks into the plane so that he is able to control it so that the plane moves from side to side, giving Bond the advantage. And yeah, during the sequence, the frame rate drops, but it didn't really take me out of it, and it was a really like, okay, still needs things to polish, but it's fine. Now, after Bond murders like an extra 20 guys, Bond is unable to open the door, as the plane is, well, not in the best of shape. A guard comes through trying to shoot Bond. However, he must let go, but he is able to leave his watch, while I believe it acts as a sort of tracker. And we get what a lot of people are calling the Uncharted moment of the game. And while yes, Uncharted 3 had that great sequence, the fact that it's Bond freefall diving trying to find a parachute is taking inspiration from one of the most fun Bond films ever made, Moonraker. And in this game sequence, we finally get the Bond's theme playing, which I freaking loved. And we end the gameplay for the mission with Bond catching up with one of the henchmen, knocking him unconscious as he deploys the parachute. I fucking love this, man. Now, admittedly, the frame rates and pop-ins can be noticeable and can be distracting, and it does lack a little bit of the Bond flourish, but overall, I really love this. I thought that the gameplay looked tight and intense, the driving seemed fun, although I wished we had gadgets, admittedly. The puzzles in order to get into the building and interacting with the bartender felt really much like a Hitman video game, which I really liked. After the gameplay for the mission, we have James Bond himself announce the cast. Yes, as it had been rumored for a while, Patrick Gibson is James Bond. It sucks that Dexter Original Sin got renewed and then cancelled, but I mean, he got to be Bond now, so that's a fucking upgrade. Now, I won't go through all the cast, but it seems to be a solid cast with actors who have extensive credits. Not to single out a single person here, however, the actress who portrays Moneypenny is Kira Lester. Now, this will be a big role for her, as for the most part, she has appeared in shows for like an episode or two, except for the show called Ruby Speaking. So, while I think the other actors have got credits to back up their acting, I'd say Kira has a lot more to prove. For one, and let's not beat around the bush, the race swap. I don't really mind that they race swap to Moneypenny, as she is a supporting character and Naomi Harris did a fantastic job in the Bond films. That being said, when you change a character, you are going to ruffle some feathers, but I am willing to give her a chance. As for the brief interaction that they had in the first trailer, it looks like the Golden Eye banter, so I'm hoping she does a good job with showing this new side of Moneypenny that isn't, say, too much antagonistic, while also keeping up a little bit of that flirty banter that we know from the Bond movies. Now, we finally move into the last section of the gameplay that was shown, as it shows Bond at a gala trying to track down an assassin. Now, this shows a little more of the Hitman-isms, as in this section, Bond interacts with a journalist and must obtain a camera. And I like that the video shows Bond getting the camera in 3 different ways, showing the different routes Bond can pursue to achieve just one objective. And it even further shows the different ways to stealth around, as Bond is able to either brute force it at times or is able to lure an enemy away and then remove the doorknob. The footage then further shows the different gadgets you are able to use, and that you are able to use different pickups to refill your gadgets, like chemicals for certain gadgets or batteries. You are able to bluff people at times depending if they are at a lower level, and if you are detected, then you can de-escalate the situation the old-fashioned way. Now, one thing that I might not vibe with is that when enemies have the clear intention of shooting to kill, your license to kill is permitted. Now, if this is going to be a forced thing, I will have mixed feelings about it. As, what if I want to go for a guns blazing route right off the bat, or a silenced pistol route? Do I have to wait for the license to kill to activate before killing? It seems like you will be pigeonholing the fun if you are limited to no killing, or rather no guns until the enemies comes out with guns. But that was the gameplay video, so let's move into the trailer that came out alongside the gameplay footage. We'll be taking a look over the gameplay trailer. Now, overall, the trailer is probably not as wow as the gameplay footage, but as a trailer, I thought it was good. It has some of the Majesty's theme that eventually switches to the classic Bond theme. Now, what I do really like is that while it does show bits where you have seen in the 30-minute gameplay footage, it also expands on certain moments from the gameplay footage. For one, we see more of the gala set piece, which looks awesome. Bond introducing himself.
Bond. James Bond.
We see Bond driving a garbage truck through the city, which reminds me of the Bloodstone driving sequence through Bangkok. Overall, the gameplay trailer is decent. It's sort of like having an alright dessert after having an amazing entree and main meal. It's a nice way to end off 007's first light state of play. But, dear viewer, we aren't just talking about the state of play event. Oh no, I missed out on talking about it before, but by God, I am doing it here. So let's talk about the initial announcement trailer.
His parents cut their own rope to save him. He watched them fall, then found his way off that mountain. He was 11 years old.
Now, this trailer is very heavily inspired by the main trailer by Spectre. Like 1000%. The pacing of the trailer feels nearly identical, and it even has the Majesty's theme. But I tell you what, this trailer kicks ass, and I love it. It gives you hints as to what to expect from the story. M and Greenway talk about Bond's backstory. However, unlike the books or the films where Bond's parents died during an accident and he overheard about it, the trailer establishes that no, Bond was there, and that moment shaped this iteration of James Bond. It even hints or further establishes of Bond being a loose cannon from his boarding school days and even his time in the Navy, as it hints of his last mission in Iceland, which it establishes of him being a reckless person. Now the trailer, it also establishes this universe's M, Q, and Moneypenny, the Bond girl, and a mentor for Bond called Greenway. Greenway clearly does not like Bond being such an anomaly. However, M perfectly describes Bond to a T.
It's really quite simple. Bond is a bullet without a target. Let's give him one.
We see Q branch, and that is really damn cool. Bond training and being tested to see if he can fake a polygraph test. Now, there is one shot of someone playing chess, and he has a very familiar looking ring. Very much like a certain organization who specializes in counterintelligence and engages in terrorism, revenge, and extortion. And they house some of the greatest minds in the world.
Correction. Criminal brains.
Now, we get a little more of Bond in the shadows in a white tuxedo. Bond is in a nightclub and Bond in a sunny location that gives off a lot of Thunderball vibes. We even get a shot of what I assume is the villain's evil device they will use to hold the globe to ransom. We get this weird shot of someone with this what appears to be a Roman mask. I can only assume this is the villain or perhaps even the henchman like a Jaws or an Oddjob to the main villain, as the visual of the mask is very striking. We also end with Bond and Greenway hanging upside down about to be fed to crocodiles, a very live and let die nod. I think the announcement trailer was brilliant. Is the Majesty's music a little forced? Maybe, but that's mainly due to the Craig era using it for cheap emotional shots to the heart to old fans of the series. I think the trailer hit enough notes of the story and action to entice you, and now that the gameplay video and trailer have dropped, you get to see more of what the gameplay will look like upon release. However, hopefully they fix the frame rate and pop-ins. Besides that, it looks amazing and I can't wait to see more of the game. Before we end the video, I just wanted to say, first, I love the scar on Bond's face. It's something none of the movies have done. Even though Ian Fleming commissioned Bond to have a scar, they never did it. Bond quips in this. He's not that broody Craig Bond that when he quips, it sounds like he wants to vomit. No, this Bond seems to be enjoying being a field agent and is willing to quip after killing a dude. And the innuendos seem to be coming in hot with this, and I love it.
Tell me, what do you do, James?
Lately, headhunting.
I think Patrick Gibson seems to be a great fit for this iteration of Bond, and I cannot wait to see more of his performance when the game drops on the 27th of March. But if you pre-order, you can get it on the 26th of March, as there is a 24-hour deluxe edition that comes free with the game, which bonus points for that. Overall, based off all this may very well be my most anticipated game of the year. Sure, there's GTA, which I will be playing, but there is something special about a Bond video game coming out 20 years after Casino Royale, where a new generation can experience James Bond in video game form. The gameplay looks great, the visuals spectacular, the story looks especially wonderful. I really like the Bond they have in this. Overall, I am ecstatic for this new video game, and after Bond getting nuked, I am just happy to see my favorite cinematic hero come back in a different medium.
It's good to know there is still one number you can always count on.
Bond.
Bond. James Bond.
Thank you all for watching the video. Please leave a like if you liked the video and comment down below your thoughts on 007 First Light. Are you excited for it or are you not? Hell, are you just skeptical after all this hype, and do you think the hype is warranted? Whatever it is, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And as always, everyone, I just wanted to let you all know to take care and have a good one.
Thank you for your visit.
Okay.
We hope to see you again.
Somehow I doubt that.